On to the next project here. So I borrowed this mini excavator. A little bit of a longer story than that, but basically I went over to do some maintenance, found I had a huge hydraulic leak, got the level topped off so it would move. When this runs low on hydraulic fluid, it doesn't move. So I did a bunch of maintenance, filled the fluid, got it working, but then I borrowed it to do all sorts of construction work. So now the right thing to do is going to be to really fix it. You can see that cylinder is nice and dry. You see all this wet. It's all from this cylinder. So that cylinder's puking. So I just ordered a rebuild kit, like just a reseal kit, really. And I've never done this before, watched some videos, rebuild forks and stuff. So shouldn't be all that hard. This cylinder is dry. So what I'm doing as DIY, I ordered on Amazon a gland spanner wrench right here, so it's got the little studs on it, so those will engage these couple holes. And what I did that I noticed some other people don't know, I'm not sure why it wouldn't be common sense, was I went ahead and got the gland broke loose here before I unbolted anything. So this gland, I don't know if I could turn it by hand, but I got it initially broke loose. It is moving using that wrench. And then I'm just pulling the bolts. The bolts are double nutted. You got to take the, like this one is not double nutted, but a lot of them are double nutted. So you got to take the first nut off, and then the second nut off, and then the bolt. And so right now I should be ready to push out these pins. I don't know if these pins are going to give me much of a fight. I tried to kind of set the thing up in a way that there wouldn't be a lot of force on it. So if those pins are trying to come out hard, it might be because they're seized, or it might be because there's weight on it. And right now, I'm not sure. So just getting started. I got some other work I have to do, and the parts won't be in for a couple days. So, so far, that's what I got to report. All right, so I played around for like 30 seconds and pretty quickly figured out that it is pretty much maxed out, but what I did was I kind of grabbed it and using some strength, kind of gave it a little wiggle while pushing on that pin, and the pin moved. Then I used an extension, just push it out. So it's kind of hanging on this extension, but working with heavy stuff a lot, this is the thing. If something seems like it's really difficult, there's a good chance it's because it's bearing a lot of weight at that moment. So just the fact that I was able to just hold the weight right here and kind of give it a wiggle and have the pin slide out, I know I'm looking pretty good. So I'm just going to pop this extension out. That cylinder's going to drop, no big deal. And so I'm going to do the same up here. It's hard to do it with the phone. So I'm going to hold the phone and I'm going to see if I can get it right now. Yeah. So easy. It should be easy. If it's not easy, it's either seized or it's weight bearing, and you don't really want it to come off. It's weight bearing. Something might fall down. So, and again, this is not what I do every day. I work on all kinds of crap, but obviously preferred to have a professional do this work. Like everything, every time a professional can do the work, it takes the risk off you, but it costs you money. So I'm just sharing my experiences as a DIY person, and I'm like a lay person, kind of. Though I work on cars professionally, I do not work on equipment. Oh, I got one more fitting I just noticed. So I pulled this hose off of here, but as I lift this up, I got one more to get right there. So I'm just gonna prop it over, break that loose with a 3/4, and then I'm gonna lay the cylinder out, and then I'm gonna wait for parts. I might take it apart, see what it looks like. All right. The nut that you have to get off here is really no joke. Even I got a lot of stuff. It wouldn't touch that. So I had to bring home a 3/4 gun, and I just cheated. I just cranked my air compressor up to 160 psi to get it loose. But I also brought home a 1-inch gun. The biggest size I had was 1.5 inches. This one, 1 5/8 inches kind of worked, but I had to hammer it on there. So I've got on order a 42 millimeter 1-inch drive socket. That socket was $25 on Amazon. So that's what you really need. And so this was what I used. That's all I think that set was like $20 or something. I just got the seal set in out from like HW Parts, I think it was called, or HW Hardware. Let me look it up. Well, shoot, it's in there somewhere. I'll check it. I'm pretty sure it was called HW Hardware. So they got the seal. So I gotta bust open this seal once I get, this nut's loose now. I'm just gonna spin it off and then determine what I need to replace. I may replace it, and it did come with a new nut, so I'll probably spin that nut on, but my 42 millimeter is not showing up till later. So, so far it doesn't seem really difficult. Kind of messy, but not real difficult minus getting that nut off, which was a beast. All right, didn't take long to find the failure point. This little lip right here I could see was torn, but further inside, you obviously can't see that until you get it apart. Looks like that inner seal is just puked. I'd imagine maybe just from debris, and this thing's 10 years old and has never been done, so probably pretty typical. So I'm gonna do a lot of cleanup. Looks like there's a little bit of wear there on that gland. But I'm going to do a lot of cleanup and see what I can do to get the seals in and then summarize it afterward. All right, that blue seal in there, I swore it wasn't going to fit. That's the thicker seal that goes in lower. I couldn't quite get it by hand. I got it almost by hand, and then I cheated a little bit with a screwdriver that's got a dull edge, so I made sure not to tear it. But I just worked it in there. So again, it was with the grooved side down and the flat side up. So that would be this one here, down first. And then this one was kind of opposite. This little lip, that little flap or kind of lip is gonna be actually face up. So it's going in like that, which I'm sure I can get that in by hand. I already practiced. And then, that garter spring, I'm sure was just for the older design. So that's getting junked. Now, this sucker here that was on this was a pain in the butt. I worked it off with a pick. I was able to work the new one on, but I kind of had to stretch it. So what I've seen in transmissions is an installer tool that starts small and it gradually gets big, and you can slip it on with a sleeve. So that probably would be the best way. But with this one, I was able to work it on. I'm just going to hopefully be able to really gently get the cylinder over it to get it to kind of shrink up and do its thing. But that one there was tough. That one is not made of really rubber. It doesn't stretch at all. So this is not real technical. It takes patience and a lot of finger strength. But I'd say it's pretty DIY friendly. Of course, I haven't gotten it together yet. And that doesn't go on yet. I just set that on there to remember which direction it went, and the seal is towards the shorter end, towards the top. So I'm gonna continue. All right, it's been like 10 seconds. That one's super easy to walk in. The lower, fatter seal was tough, which I think is more the primary seal. I think the purpose of this seal is just to keep junk off of the shaft. Oh, and by the way, the underneath this Teflon, ring or whatever, there is an O-ring. So, or actually that one. So right under this, there's an O-ring. And the kit came with that, so I changed that. So now, I'm not gonna be able to do it with one hand, but I'm gonna pop this off. I might be able to. Pop this off, and I'm gonna set this on. And what I did to lubricate the seals was simply used hydraulic fluid. So if you needed more lube, this sounds like a joke, but I'd use petroleum jelly. That's what I would use. The Vaseline, generic brand petroleum, or the name brand petroleum jelly is what we'd use in transmissions, and it's good for the O-rings. It's compatible with the fluid. That's what I personally use. So these I'm gonna slowly work on right now. I may get a little bit more hydraulic fluid and dump some on the seals just to make sure I don't roll a seal or rip a seal trying to put this on. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, so just a little bit of lube, slid it right on, got it facing the right direction. I've got a small coating of the hydraulic fluid on all the O-rings. I've got this ready. I'm gonna get this nut on right now, and I have no idea what the torque spec is, but that 3/4 inch gun could barely get it off, so it's freaking tight. As far as I'm concerned, the torque spec is officially freaking tight. Now, once I get that on, probably what I'm gonna do is take it back off the machine and assemble the hydraulic cylinder on the ground and then bring it back over. So right now it's just impact rattling, so nothing real technical. On second thought, so I do own 1 5/8" wrench, and the open end fits it pretty good, and I got as tight as I can, but it's really not an 1 5/8" size. So I thought, hey, maybe this socket would fit better on the new nut, but it really didn't. So I'm gonna wait till I get the 42mm socket in, which should be here this evening. Then all I really got to do is blast this down, reassemble the cylinder, tighten up the gland, get hydraulic fluid. Partially that's the issue too. I have a little hydraulic fluid, but this needs like 3 gallons. I don't have 3 gallons left. So being that I got to run out to get the hydraulic fluid, I might as well get the socket later and kind of do everything all as one. So on hold for now, but still, this doesn't seem particularly difficult. Just requires a lot of strong tools and finger strength. All right, so the 42mm socket's perfect. Totally perfect. Perfect. And I put it in the 1-inch gun now. So that 3/4 was just barely getting it. Let's check that out. It's hard to hold with one hand, but really tough with one hand. Boom. All right, so I'm gonna run this down, basically until it stops. That gun's got the freaking juice right there. So, like I said, now I'm gonna pop the pins out, lay it back down here. I got another 5 gallons of hydraulic oil, and I'm gonna really carefully assemble it with making sure I don't catch a lip on this. It's like a sizable seal, so. And then be test time. All right, so that seal was kind of a pain in the butt, but with some massaging, I actually heated it up a little bit, worked it, and got it to slide in. So remaining was just swinging the cylinder up, tightening up the gland with the special spanner, and then getting some pins in. So I've got this pin in, I've got the hole aligned for the bolts, and one thing I found, it's hard to turn them when they're in, so I kind of like get the pin pre-aligned, and then it'll pretty much line up with just maybe a minor little adjustment. But if you get it close, it's easy to adjust. And then the other thing was, because I pulled this cylinder off, this thing actually sagged a little bit more, and I couldn't quite make the cylinder connect, so I had to jack it up a little bit. I really should be using like a 6x6, but I had a 2x4 right there, and I'm being careful. So I just lifted it up a few inches so I could pop the pins. And then now I'm just gonna double nut, bolt, double nut, put in the bolt for the retainer. I already torqued the hose here, and the gland. And then as far as bleeding, all I've ever really seen is filling up the hydraulic level and operating the cylinder repeatedly, and then the air will end up passing into the hose and going into the reservoir. So it should be no big deal. A few more minutes, I'll be running it. Looking pretty good. Before, hydraulic fluid would have been running right out of that sucker. I mean, puking. I still got a lot of cleaning up to do, but I've maxed it out a few times each way with no problem, so I'm feeling pretty good. So, I don't know, I'd say overall, I really didn't find it all that difficult. I'm gonna check the reservoir here real quick. Yeah, I'm a little low again. so I gotta keep adding it. You know, after running it a few times, a lot of the fluid filled the cylinder, so it dropped the level down. I'm just gonna top the level off and go dig.